So we all know by now that if you go on social media, you're gonna find a bunch of people forming parasocial relationships with their favorite celebrity. There's stan culture, there's the defenders, there's people that really think that these people actually care about them. But what if, instead of worshiping these people from afar, you were able to get in their inner circle? We're even gonna do one step better than that. What if you were able to hook up with them? And that's the question that's been posed to Reddit multiple times. And I thought, why not go over some of the most interesting tales that you can find in these threads? And granted, these are all anonymous accounts online, so don't try going out and canceling any of these people or holding it against them. Honestly, these are all just fictional tales until a trusted source actually confirms this. These stories are coming from Redditors, okay? Take it with a huge, a barrel, not just a grain, a barrel of salt. And before we start, let's get all the hacky jokes out of the way.
You know I had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom?
Well, not me personally, but a guy I know. Him and her got it on. Woo-wee!
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
I didn't see any stories about Diddy, but I did see stories about Bill Cosby. And of course, he's being a perfect gentleman with adult legal women who are awake. Well, what about R. Kelly? He's verifying the age of the women? Well, what about Michael Jackson? You know every single joke about Michael Jackson. Like, why did he go to Kids R Us? Because they had little boys' underwear half off. Well, he's here with secret girlfriends. And you know what they say about Weezer. Weezer is the no-sex band. Weezer is the band equated to not having sex. And yet, in two different stories, they're doing exactly that. So let's take a look at some of the best stories that you're gonna find in one of these threads.
Honesty, respect, and sex with celebrities.
Since it's Reddit, some of the stories skewed younger, as did the celebrities. But I did get my classic rockers. Like this one about Mick Jagger having hookups all over the globe, including in Argentina. And then I'm thinking, okay, what other 60s, 70s rock musicians will I see? I was not expecting Paul Simon, who apparently has hoes in different area codes, like the area code of Sweden. I was expecting to see Van Halen, not Dan Fogelberg. If you don't know, because you're younger and this just isn't the music you listen to, this is what Dan Fogelberg sounded like.
I'll be in love with you.
And this is what they're saying he did. There were a couple Van Halen stories, like this one where, and remind you, it's all hearsay, this is not confirmed anywhere, but apparently Alex Van Halen gave this guy's ex-girlfriend's sister herpes. Spreading the love. You know who else spread the love? Coolio. Because apparently him and the woman in this story smoked meth and then had sex, and then she had to get herself tested for STDs. That's disgusting. But what's even more disgusting is there were two different stories about Jared from Subway. I know what you're thinking. Ew, we know a lot about Jared these days. But this isn't what you're thinking. This isn't the underage stuff. These are adults, and they're sharing their experience. And their experience was horrifying. He apparently smelled like Subway and had a bunch of loose skin from losing all that weight.
I've got a lot more energy now, and I need it with a wife and home. Now there's plenty to take care of.
You know who doesn't have that problem? Clay Henry.
His name is Henry, Clay Henry. He's a fireman and a Jared fan from Subway.
Because he's a fireman and a Jared fan. I don't think anymore, but he was in the song. I bet he doesn't have these issues. And then people in the Reddit thread started throwing around accusations of people who may have liked them under the legal age. Don't go putting cuffs on these guys, okay? We don't know any of this. We don't know if this story about Keith Hernandez is true.
My goodness.
How much meat is in a $25 hot dog?
I wasn't talking about the hot dog.
Or that Elvis paid for a secret abortion. He ain't here to defend himself. Or maybe he is. Maybe somebody left a tip on that Elvis hotline.
Is Elvis alive? Judge for yourself by calling the 900 number on your television screen.
And then this person who wanted to lose their virginity and was trying to figure out a workaround. How could they still remain a virgin, but also hook up with, did I read that right? Pauly Shore? I guess she wanted him to munch on her grindage. You want the gossip though, don't you? You want to know who's hung and who isn't. And this topic didn't just start on Reddit. There was a book put out from a woman who spent the 70s and 80s hooking up with famous musicians. Her name was Pamela Desbarres, and she let us know that Huey Lewis is blessed. But David Lee Roth didn't have what it took in size to please the California girls. We learned that Jeff Goldblum, he's not hung like a fly. He is also incredibly fortunate, as is noted firearms expert Alec Baldwin. But he's also very hairy and very sweaty. Kinda makes you wonder what was going on when the couple of Beetlejuice were trying to procreate. And do you want me to ruin your image of Gilligan's Island? He may not have been able to save all his luggage, but he still had a big package, if you know what I mean. You know, if a celebrity starts appearing multiple times, I start believing what I'm reading. Like Jason Segel, who they said is small, he's mean, and he's very, very rude. And apparently, bad in bed.
So, here we are. Your penis. Yes. Yes.
All I can say about this Pitbull story is, dale. Jonah Hill keeps popping up, and I find it funny that the women refer to him as Winnie the Pooh, since he's always leaving his shirt on, embarrassed by his size. And then you start learning things you just didn't want to know. I could have gone my whole life without knowing what color Ben Roethlisberger's dick was, and the comedian Ron White's dick.
Shit.
And if you had a nice, well, the celebrity Zachary Quinto would have complimented it. And he doesn't fall on the huge side, but not embarrassingly small. It's Harry Styles, who, hey, at least they called him a very good lover. But I didn't see Phil Collins, so I don't know if he's an easy lover.
It's obviously a difficult feeling to feel like being close to me means you're at the ransom of a corner of Twitter or something.
Not everybody whose name appeared in this list was slandered. Some of them were just run-of-the-mill hookups. Some of them just had a funny detail in them.
Situation.
Like Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line being a fan of pleasing. Apparently, Drake is a fan of that as well, which is a lot better than what he's been accused of being a fan of in 2024. Yeah, I think he wishes that Kendrick dropped this against him instead of that other thing. Speaking of Kendrick, he pops up on this list as well. After him and the woman make love, he's willing to offer career advice. Keith Urban, he gets called a freak in the sack. The Weeknd, he's a fan of taking a post-sex selfie, which I thought was weird, but not as weird as Jason Derulo, who's more enamored with himself than the person he's hooking up with, and he just gives me Patrick Bateman vibes. George Carlin is a jerk, but I guess he'll rock your world if you let him get with you. And then you have Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish, and after you're done making love to him, he's gonna serenade you. He's gonna hold your hand. But you don't really want nice in these threads. You want weird, degenerate stuff. You want the guy who played Gibby on iCarly begging for sex. Or Morgan Wallen, the top country star in the world, having to demand for nudes. Or receiving them from somebody like AJ from the Backstreet Boys. You'd think the boy banders would have an easier time hooking up, but look at JC here. This is sad. I thought having this level of fame would make it easier.
All day long I dream about sex, and all night long I think about sex and song.
Cut it out. Could this hookup story be any sadder? You'd think somebody would just do it to have the story, to feel like, I don't know, you're on the set of Friends or Full House. And then you think, well, not everybody could have these kind of embarrassing stories out there. What about a guy like Derek Jeter? He should be turning them down left and right. And yes, He gets them, but the stories were really out there. My cousin dated Derek Jeter. She entered in one day to find him butt-ass naked on his couch, watching highlights of himself, and bumping his chest with his fist, saying,
"Yeah, Jeets. Yeah, Jeets. Yeah, Jeets."
I actually kind of believe this, only because one of my friends claims he knew a girl who went back to Derek Jeter's place one night and proceeded to go down on him. As she performed, Jeter put his hand over her head and said,
"Yeah, Jeets. Yeah, Jeets. Yeah, Jeets."
And then you got a third commenter who has a combination of those two stories, with Derek Jeter pinching his own nipples while getting fellatio. And I guess it's New York legend that after a hookup with Derek Jeter, you get a parting gift. He's gonna send you home with an autographed baseball. Apparently Bernie Williams also did this. And then you got Leonardo DiCaprio. And you know the meme about how if you're over a certain age, he's done with you. Well, he's bored with you before you even break up. He doesn't even take his headphones off. Could you imagine you're just like this big fangirl of Titanic or The Departed, or even you get turned on by Django Unchained, and then you're stuck with this.
Leonardo DiCaprio ain't taking these headphones off, girl. I won't even take off my shades.
Wouldn't that be super disappointing that a guy, the heartthrob of the 90s, has this kind of reputation? This being the internet, and from Reddit commenters, you know the meme about Reddit commenters, what you think they look like, and oftentimes that is what they look like. You gotta just take this as a story. If they say that they hooked up with Kelly Clarkson while being on tour with her, I don't know. I don't believe them. Because Kelly Clarkson said, in song, that she does not hook up. When this guy in the gay version of this thread says, yeah, I hooked up with Vin Diesel. Are you sure you hooked up with Vin Diesel? Or were you super inebriated and hooked up with a bald guy that you thought was Vin Diesel? He may have said that he was the pitch man for Street Sharks.
Head shark!
And he wanted to treat you like family. But was that really Vin Diesel? I think your mind just wants to connect the dots. It sounds like that celebrity, so it has to be true. In my mind, in 2011, you could absolutely hook up with Kesha in the bathroom.
Making out a lot, and big juicy lips.
The actress, Jennifer Coolidge, who played Stifler's mom, she loves younger men. She said so in this interview. Of course she was out there on the prowl. I just have a really hard time believing that somebody on this thread was able to hook up with Shirley Manson from the band Garbage. I believe that about as much as I believe this person who says they had sex with Rainbow Dash's actress, Ashley Ball. I have come inside Rainbow Dash. Please don't tell me he also did this into a jar. And she supposedly kept bursting in and out of the voice while they were together in bed.
Just tell me what you need and I'll be there.
That's not the weirdest thing he could have heard. Apparently after his hookups, LL Cool J likes to tell the women he does not like white people. That goes completely against the song that he and Brad Paisley put out.
So if my man got a Confederate flag on, I'm not going. That don't mean he's a Confederate soldier.
Accidental racist. There's nothing accidental when you make a statement like that. Oh, and we got a Taylor Swift story. Apparently this person knew her back in the day, and she was one cool chick. She'd come over, you could have pizza in bed, and watch the UFC, and Paris Hilton's porno.
How does watching UFC, Paris Hilton's sex tape, and eating pizza sound tonight?
We also have contradicting stories. Because I don't know if Steve from Blue's Clues, yes, you heard me, Steve from Blue's Clues, is either a really nice guy or a pervert. I know what you're thinking. Where are people living the rock star life? You got a bunch of people and these just seem really sad.
I'm probably the sexiest and the best in bed. Even if I'm by myself in bed. I love to masturbate. I just love to give myself orgasms. I love to deliver orgasms to the masses.
What about cool over-the-top stuff? Well, we got rockers. Not the rockers you're thinking of. You gotta hook up with Mark McGrath from the band Sugar Ray, and instead of being able to finish with her, he has to bust his load into a can That's disgusting.
I took your fucking face, you said. Did I say anything?
Well, yes, you did! Hold on, he didn't finish his autograph.
I want to fucking know. You know, I'm smart ass.
You got Stephen Jenkins from the band Third Eye Blind going around, creeping the women out, and spouting off conspiracy theories. You got Stephen Page from the band Bare Naked Ladies, who really wants to do butt stuff.
Funky butt loving! Did he say funky butt loving?
And Post Malone apparently is a fan of butt stuff, and he has to beg for sex. He's like one of the biggest superstars in music. I just went to his concert. He could have gone out in that crowd and gotten somebody. Why is he begging? Say it ain't so,
I know
Posty.
some freaky girls that like me all funky and right.
No fun, you suck.
The real playboys are the guys who play the acoustic guitar, and by saying that, I know that I've allowed people to continue being the person who shows up to the party and plays Wonderwall, because it works.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
The other guys have to beg, but a guy like Drake Bell, he can have a three-way, and he doesn't even have to be nice during the three-way, which, in this story, allowed this other woman to steal this woman's clothes.
Drake was sitting with a woman. My plan was to order a drink and then approach them to ask him if he'd take a picture with the girls. But before I could do that, he approached me. They ended up inviting me to a party they were having the next day. It wasn't until I got there that it dawned on me there was no party, no other people. It was the three of us. And this was definitely going to be a threesome situation. Drake didn't want the other girl to participate, so she left. We didn't stop, and we didn't look for her. The girl woke up the next day with her clothes being stolen by the other girl.
You calling me a liar?
I ain't calling you a truther.
Guys like Gavin DeGraw, they're able to get down from town to town. And the women who don't get with Gavin, they regret it. They want to suck on the DeGraw straw. I think I'm just going to go up to people and start saying, how does Gavin's dick taste? Then you get Jason Mraz. Yes, Jason Mraz, Mr. A to the Z. All about the wordplay. He is the Coochie Slayer.
To know you want more of the thing you just gotta take.
But the king of showing up in all these stories, because there's at least 7 entries about the man, is my dude, John Mayer.
I've seen it all like I'm John Mayer.
And I can totally buy this, because every time I've gone to one of his shows, there are women screaming in front of me and behind me about how bad they want him. And that allows him to be, what this person says, is a freaky broski. With tales of him inviting girls to come on the tour bus, kiss each other, while he...
Some might consider me a freaky broski. I prefer to think of myself as someone who enjoys a bit of adventure and eccentricity in life. I have no regrets about being true to myself, and if that means being a freaky broski at times, then I'll gladly wear the label.
Man, during that 2004-2005 period, he was wild. No wonder he had all those controversies. He blew a load on her face and then kicked her out. Are you gonna suck John Mayer's? She said the faces he made while playing guitar were the same as when he was playing with his wang.
Playing guitar and making love are both incredibly passionate and emotional experiences, so it's not hard to imagine making some interesting faces in the heat of the moment.
He started wanking himself and yelled, "Watch me, watch me." He proceeded to ask her to sit on the toilet while he took a shower and masturbated. Yeah, some of this stuff sounds like intimate stuff that shouldn't have left the tour bus or the hotel room. You know, innocent flirting, innocent enough. But then it starts getting real scatological. And I think this was the most famous revelation that came from this thread. It's that John Mayer has an asshole fetish. Let me see your butthole.
Let me see your butthole.
Okay, never mind. Jason Derulo, you're off the hook. Patrick Bateman vibes come from John Mayer.
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
The man wants to be shit on, and he wants to pee on his partners.
It's just as disgusting when you watch it back.
To him, the body is truly a wonderland. Hey, if you like this video, don't! Burn it from your brain, okay? Because you're not going to look at half these guys the same. But if you like other pop culture-y things, there's massive playlists. Check out old episodes of the podcast show that I did with Jeff, or, I don't know, any of the best of stuff here. And if you have anything you'd like me to talk about, leave it in the comments. Let me know which one of these was your favorite story, or the one that you just are never going to be able to look at that person the same way. If you become a member, you get to see all this stuff super early. Cool, thanks.